On this edition of Preps Today with John Millea, we will talk about Harmony, Princeton, the Hall of Fame. John will thank a chain gang. He'll reveal this week's most valuable teammate. And we'll even talk about college hockey, because why not? All the athletes John talks about grow up to be other things as well. This is Preps Today with John Millea. He's the prep sports and activities guru and writer at MSHSL.org. You can find John's journal there, which is great stuff. This is his spoken word artistry here at TalkNorth.com. Best way to listen to this show or any show you like at TalkNorth.com, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services. We want to thank our longtime sponsor, Jody Stay's Pizza Barn in Princeton. Thanks so much, Jody. We appreciate it. So, John, let's get to it. Harmony in Princeton.
Yeah, Jim. If people go to the high school league website, MSHSL.org, scroll down to John's journal, there's a very lengthy. I should halfway apologize for writing almost 3,000 words on.
Wow.
I combined. I know. Last Thursday and Friday, I went to football games back to back down in Harmony, which is within 4 or 5 miles of the Iowa border. The school is Fillmore Central. Very good Class A football. They played Wabasha Kellogg. Beautiful night. And then the next night, Friday, well, that was a 4-hour drive to Harmony. It's 2 hours down, 2 hours back. I do this. That's no big deal. And then Friday up to Princeton, where you and I have been several times. It was homecoming there. Princeton Tigers hosting the Hutchinson Tigers. And it's one of these deals where I knew I was going to go to these two places. I had several possible stories in mind. You know, at Fillmore Central, there were a couple things going on there that would make decent stories, I thought, going in. At Princeton, same deal. There's stuff going on here. There's lots of interesting roads to go down, so to speak. And basically, there was just so much cool stuff that kind of happens not always on the football field. I just started writing things down in my notebook. You know what this is like. I just start taking notes of things that I see, things that I hear, interactions I have with people, and just kind of it's a whole series of vignettes from these two football games. I don't think I've ever written anything quite like this. I reunited with people I know and met new friends, and the weather's unbelievable. So I'm standing on the field in Princeton as the teams are warming up, and their head coach is Andy Rosberg, somebody I've known for decades. His dad, Grady Rosberg, was the coach before Andy. And their quarterback this year is the next Rosberg, Graydon, named after Grandpa. He's a freshman. He's the starting quarterback. They're not having a good year. Hutch won a state title last year, which they do pretty regularly. A whole bunch of great seniors this year. Not the kind of experience they're used to. When you have a freshman quarterback in 4A football, that's not perfect, but he's going to be fine. But I was standing talking to Grady Rosberg, who's not 90, but he's not 80. He's been around forever. And I said, Grady, you're my perfect source on the weather this fall. Have we ever had football weather as outstanding as we have in 2024? And he, without hesitating, said, absolutely not. Best year he can remember. And according to his son, Grady played football without a face mask. So that's going back a ways. But it's just a lot of interactions like that. One story I had in mind was back not that long ago, Grand Meadow was a 9-man powerhouse. Gary Sloan was the coach there for almost 30 years. He retired as head coach there 3 years ago. And he's been working as a volunteer assistant coach at Fillmore Central, where his son Ty is an actual paid assistant coach and a teacher in the Harmony district. So I was thinking, well, I'm going to write about the Sloans. Here's one of the legendary Hall of Fame coaches who drives 45 miles each way to practice as a volunteer coach. So I talked to Gary Sloan on the phone earlier last week, and he absolutely did not want to be the focus of a story, which is just so endearing. He doesn't want any attention. He says, I'm a volunteer coach. I'm helping out when I can. I'm having a great time, but I just said, you're not right about me, John. And I will certainly respect his wishes. And he turned the focus to Chris Mensick, who's the head coach down there, who's brought a couple of recent teams to state. They were in a state semifinal in Class A 2 years ago. I knew Chris a little bit, but chatted with him before the game and after. Super impressed. And it's just hard to describe, Jim, what I wrote. It's kind of like you got to go in there, start biting off chunks. And talked about my dad, who died 10 years ago Friday. And I'm sitting in the press box in Princeton next to the PA announcer. And I texted my mom, who's 91 and lives alone in the house where they raised 6 kids. And I just said, Mom, I'm sitting in a press box. I took a picture of the scene, the sun going down. It was a beautiful night. I texted that picture to my mom and said, hey, Mom, I'm sitting here in a press box next to the PA announcer thinking about Dad, who was the PA announcer for our high school football games. And she sent me back a one-word answer, memories. And we all, and friends of mine who I grew up with, everybody remembers my dad being the PA guy. He was the town barber and kind of a comedian. He had a lot of fun up there. So, yeah, just a lot of things came together, Jim, in these 2 days. Sometimes you go to these things with a definite plan. I thought I had pretty solid plans, but then when I got home and just kind of start rolling things over in your head and looking at your notes, looking at photos I took, and just kind of put it all together in basically an essay about 2 nights at high school football games in Minnesota. And I'll tell you what, the reaction's really been cool. Between this story and the Hancock story, we talked about that. We had Hancock coach Chad Christensen on the show. This one and that one really seem to resonate with people. And it's just good to see, to know people are reading these things and that they seem to enjoy them. So that's, I know it's kind of sketchy how I'm describing this, but it's hard to describe. It's basically nearly 3,000 words with, like I said, little vignettes, chatting with players on the sidelines and having fun and marveling at the greatest football field men's restroom I've ever seen in my life down in Harmony. That's just stuff like that. I walked in there and wow, look at this. This is bigger and brighter and cleaner than I've ever seen for a restroom that basically is going to be used 4 days a year. They went all out. So that's my description of the latest John's Journal entry.
Well, I love it. And, right now I write a column, so my typical work is 700 words and in a predictable format. But when I did feature writing and beat writing and other kinds of writing, I always found the vignette style to be incredibly compelling if you had the material. And you obviously have the material. But when you have the material to instead of try to force a lot of different things into one narrative and decide what goes first and how to transition between them, you just lay it out. Here's this moment. Here's this moment. It's so much fun to read. It's so much fun to write that way.
It really was. And it's disjointed. It's not in any chronological order. And, it's a lot of words. And I broke it up with some all caps, bold face every few paragraphs. Not that does anything. It just breaks it up a little bit. We know about that from our newspaper days. But, yeah, it's interesting how you think you have a plan, then you don't have a plan, and then you got more than you could ever write about. I mean, I'm basically from the clean your plate school of journalism. I cleaned about 85% of my plate. I had several little things that I thought would be worthy of this, but I just thought, no, this is long enough. You got to know when to pull the plug. And I did.
No, it's great stuff. And it's just it's a great way to, and particularly for high school sports, it's a wonderful format to get all kinds of different people's stories out there. So that's great.
Yeah, and I try to get a lot of names into these stories, kids' names, kids I'm, having interactions with football players on the sidelines and cheerleaders and all that. So yeah, it really was fun to write something like that.
That's great. Should we go to the Hall of Fame?
Let's go to the Hall of Fame, the Minnesota State High School Coaches Association. This is the overall association, coaches from all sports. They hold a great Hall of Fame banquet every year. The latest one was Saturday night at a hotel in Minnetonka. It was great. I am so honored to be a lifetime member of that group. They have me sit up at the head table, which is just ridiculous for a guy like me to be at the head table of anything. I should be barely in the back of the room. But it's a great banquet. The inductees this year, this is really quite a group. These are new members of the Minnesota State High School Coaches Association Hall of Fame. This is really the highest honor for a coach. They are Donna Mark of St. Cloud Apollo, Keith Randa of Apple Valley, Tom Mix of Rushford Peterson and Spring Grove, Dave Nelson of Blaine and Minnetonka, and Larry McKenzie of Holy Angels, Patrick Henry, and Minneapolis North. That is some rock star coaches there. And the banquet includes lots of other awards. There's just the head coaches of the year, head coaches who won state titles, assistant coaches of the year. They honor officials. It's really all encompassing. And our friend Randy Shaver, member of the Talk North family, he was made a lifetime member of the group. And as they were making this presentation to Randy, they pointed out you get a laminated card as a lifetime member. And Randy pointed out it's good for admission to any regular season high school game in any sport. And Randy said since he's basically unaffiliated with he's not out with Carroll Evan anymore, he used that to get into some games this fall. Mm-hmm. Well, I've had that card for 7 years. Nobody told me it was a free, get in free card. Not that I've needed it, but I will once I'm no longer a member of the high school league staff. But it was nice to see Randy get that honor. It's a great thing. They talked about, the millions of dollars that have been raised through Tackle Cancer and just a great event. So thanks to the Coaches Association for inviting me every year and just a great time to catch up with a lot of people I know and just a great bunch of people.
Excellent. We're going to talk chain gang next. Rare college hockey note. We'll get the most valuable teammate. By the way, Randy Shaver is part of TalkNorth.com. His high school football show is doing wonderful stuff. We're kind of moving into video because of him, and it's really good stuff. We have so many good people. Don Mitchell's show, Dawn of Sports. We had Carly Zucker on this week. We had Chris Hockey on recently. Amy Hockert. We had Paul Allen on this summer. We've had Jim Cott and Mike Tirico. Check out that show as well. We got Russo on hockey, LaPanta on hockey, Gorg on hockey, Bar Down Beauties on hockey, Jeff Diamond on football, the Viking Update show with myself and John Krasinski on the Wolves, Mike Grimm on the Gophers, John Millea on Preps, Roy Smalley, Lavelle Eniel, and myself on baseball in our Chin Music show. And I'm sure I've forgotten 18 shows. We have so many and we keep growing. So thank you for listening. Thanks to all the great people we're associated with. Now let's hear more about the Pizza Barn in Princeton.
Yeah, it's mid-October already, Jim. We're talking here on the 15th. I don't know how that happened, but that means it's time for the pizza of the month at the Pizza Barn in October. It's the Oktoberfest. It's a tradition. This one starts with their famous homemade crust. There's tangy barbecue sauce, sliced brats, sauerkraut, freshly shredded mozzarella and Swiss, a little sprinkle of black pepper, like everything on the menu at the Pizza Barn. It's available for dine-in, takeout, take and bake delivery. And as I said, I was indeed in Princeton Friday night for the homecoming football game against Hutchinson. Unbelievable weather, unbelievable crowd. Man, oh man, it was a mob, and it's a great field there, old historic field, John Harvey Field, tucked between the high school and a grove of pine trees. Just a beautiful spot. And of course, one of those Pizza Barn food trucks was there. And I had texted Jody that I'd be coming up. And she knows I'm a big fan of the sausage pizza at the Pizza Barn. So she had some sausage ready for me when I got there. And the line at the truck, holy cow. I got there over an hour before kickoff. They were rolling. The line was long. It was long the whole night. That tells you how much people love the Pizza Barn pizza. It's just so great. And what they do is, I knew this, but I don't know if I ever pointed this out. You have a big pizza, you cut it into 8 pieces. At the food truck, they cut them into 4 pieces. So you're getting a paper plate that is barely visible under this giant slice of pizza. It's just so great. And I after the game was over, I was down on the field talking to the coaches and kind of chit-chatting with people. And then I went, there was still a shorter line, half hour after the game's over. Still people wanting some pizza. And then I went in and chatted with Jody and the crew inside there. And she sent me home with a giant pizza. She got a box out and put in some sausage, some cheese. I think there were 3 or 4 different different types of pizza in there. So I brought that home. My wife and I have devoured that, and it was great. Good to see Jody. Good to see the crew there at the truck. So thanks again to Jody Stay and everybody at the Pizza Barn. They do so many great things for so many people, and you'll have a meal that you'll remember for a long time.
Great stuff. All right, let us thank a chain gang.
Yeah, we're going to thank a chain gang. I got a few other short notes here. This is pretty cool. My friend Dave Peterson from up north at Monoman, Waban, he posted a great photo on Twitter, tagged me on it. It was a picture of a guy named Lars Larson, who's been on the chain gang at Monoman, Waban football games for 40 years, always working the down marker. You got to be able to count to 4 to run the down marker. I would not qualify, but Lars Larson, doing that job for 40 years. He's got a personal connection. He's the father-in-law of John Clark Jr., who's the head coach at Monoman Waban. So way to go, Lars, for working 40 years on the chain gang. I want to congrats somebody we know, Lonnie Morgan, the volleyball coach, and his team at Mabel Canton. They won their conference championship for the 27th year in a row. Other than maybe Edina girls tennis, that one comes to mind. It's hard to think of any team in any sport that has had a streak like that ever. So way to go, Lonnie and Mabel Canton volleyball. State tournaments, they're right here. They're around the corner, Jim. Next week, the girls' state girls' state tennis will kick off the fall tournaments. State soccer a week later. Then the football regular season ends this week with MEA games, most of them on Wednesday. The 6As will play on Thursday. And next week, football playoffs start. So here we go. And then one other item here. A few weeks ago, we talked about on the podcast, Grant Fitterer, a cross-country runner from Tri-City United, who has a part-time job as a cook in a restaurant, saved the life of a coworker who had passed out inside his car in the parking lot that then was on fire. So it's a great story. And I was reached out to by the National Federation of State High School Associations. They saw the story I wrote about Grant and asked for permission to print that story and one of the photos I had in their online magazine. And they posted a link along with one of those photos on their social media sites today. I reposted it on X. That's great national recognition for Grant. That's a great thing.
I love it. I love the fact that you highlight such great stories and they gain traction through you. That's just fantastic. All right, should we do the rare college hockey note?
Yeah, this is something I don't think we ever touched on college hockey on our prep show here, but I used to cover college hockey in my Star Tribune days. I spent several years on the Gophers men's hockey beat as well as the WCHA. And I just got to know so many neat people at all the schools at the WCHA. And Jim, a lot of them are media relations people. So there's a guy down at Minnesota State Mankato named Paul Allen, retired from the school. Now he actually works for the conference. It's not the WCHA anymore, but he's just been such a good friend to me. I used to go down there to help you and others cover Vikings training camp. I'd always go see Paul and we'd have lunch or, do whatever we wanted to do. He was a sports information director. Then promotions came, assistant director of athletics, and then senior deputy director of communications in a lengthy career in Mankato. And this hockey season, they have named the hockey press box at the arena down there, Mayo Clinic Health System Event Center. It will now be forever known as the Paul Allen Press Box, which is just phenomenal. He's a wonderful friend, dedicated Mankato guy, and just very deserving of that honor. So congrats to Paul Allen for having the press box down there in Mankato named in his honor.
Yeah, I didn't know Paul as well as you did, but I always loved it when I did get a chance to work with him. So congratulations, Paul. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up with your most valuable teammate.
Yeah, the most valuable teammate. This is that cool award the high school league gives every week. Not most valuable player, most valuable teammate. We're going to honor this week Lily Olson. She's a senior at Hawley who competes in cross country, track and field. Lily has helped build and take her school's programs to new levels of success. She has done this through talent, but more importantly, with great leadership that bonds teammates of all ages. She's the type of student athlete that our young students should look to emulate. Congrats to Lily Olson of Hawley. on being named a most valuable teammate.
Great stuff, John. I also have to admit, as a guitar geek, when I saw your initial subject line, Harmony in Princeton,
That's right.
Wow, harmony guitar through a Princeton amp would sound great.
Oh, actually, I have no clue about what that is. I just know that Harmony is a cool, harmonious town. I've driven through there many times, never stopped. And Harmony is the perfect name for that little town. It's just I had a wonderful experience there, like I did in Princeton, like I do everywhere I go. This little world of high school activities is pretty sweet.
A lot of great stories in that little world. Thanks for bringing them to us, John. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Thanks to John. Thanks to everyone who listens to TalkNorth.com. We'll talk to you next week.